not judgmental. Then, in the last couple of years, my eating got out of control and I gained a tremendous amount of weight. So I made the decision to undergo gastric bypass, which is actually the sleeve. I got the vertical sleeve, which they cut 80% of your stomach to restrict your eating. However, it's only a tool, and I went through a lot of counseling and a lot of workshops and classes prior to my surgery.
Workshops and classes.
To make sure that I was a good candidate for this procedure, and I was. However, the last couple of months, I'm finding now that the swelling has gone down in my stomach, I'm able to consume almost my normal consumption as before, even with 80% of my stomach gone. So I realized that this problem is bigger than me.
Okay.
And I went through drastic measures by having the surgery, but yet I still turn for food. I don't want to regain all the weight I lost, and I have a pattern of self-sabotaging myself. I self-sabotage myself, and I know I'm doing it, but I can't stop it. And I don't know how to cope or what to do.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So it sounds like your comfort is food.
Yes.
Whether you're happy or if you're upset, you turn to food as a way to help you cope with everything that's going on in your life. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And it sounds like at first you felt it was more of your eating, of what you were consuming, and that's why you had the sleeve, the weight loss surgery. But you found out that it's a lot bigger because you went through this surgery, but you're still able to eat and consume as much food as you did prior.
Yes. The only difference is the sleeve only limits the amount I can eat at one time. So I could have breakfast and I'm full, but if I eat an hour later, I can eat, or an hour later after that, I'm supposed to be eating 3 meals a day. No snacking, but you're able, and I was even told in a workshop, you can still gain your weight back because if you're eating all these small, meals, multiple meals, like 10 meals, you're going to gain the weight. The sleeve is just a tool, and it only limits the amount you can eat at one sitting.
So it sounds like even though you've had this procedure, if you're not following the proper protocols, which is eating 3 times a day, and if you are snacking, which they tell you not to snack, you're still able to gain the weight back. Did I get that right?
Yes.
So are you snacking in addition to eating the 3 meals per day?
Yes, when I'm upset, because food is my drug of choice. I go to food and I eat it, or I snack on the back stuff, even when I'm not hungry. And with the sleeve, I'm not hungry, but yet I continue to self-sabotage myself. And that's where I need the help. That's where I don't understand why I keep following the same self-sabotaging behavior, because I don't want to gain my weight back. And when I do, I've already gained 10 pounds of my weight back, and it makes me feel upset, angry, defeated, like a failure, like I'm the first gastric bypass failure in the world.
Another failure.
I feel that way, and I'm not. And I know I just got to get back on track.
When did you realize that your eating habits were an issue for you? Was it prior to surgery or after the surgery when you realized, there's something deeper than this?
It was prior to the surgery. Actually, I was a normal-sized kid. I was very active as a child. I mean, back then we played outside all the time. The streets were safe. So I would be skating or bicycling, or I'd be having too much fun to even think about eating. My mom had to call me eat because I didn't want to eat. I was too busy playing. When puberty started in the 7th and 8th grade, that's where I started gaining weight. So I started eating more. I don't know why. I guess because when puberty starts, you feel awkward. There's an awkward time in anybody's life during that period of time. And I turned to food. I just started turning to food. But I was still able to hide my addiction by exercising and, having binges only like once a week instead of every day.
Addiction, you mentioned the word addiction.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the addiction and the binges?
I feel like I was born with an addictive personality because as far as food is concerned, I feel like I'm addicted to food and that's something I can't give up. I started smoking and I was addicted right away, and it took me numerous times to quit smoking because once I'm in full force. I'm glad I never tried any hard drugs or street drugs because I know I could be one of those homeless people begging for money to put a needle in my arm. So thankfully my addiction never got that far, but I know I'm self-diagnosing, myself, but that's what I honestly feel. I was born with an addictive personality.
And you mentioned that you were a smoker, but you were able to overcome that addiction.
I did, but it was very, very difficult for me. I tried numerous times, and finally I used the patch. The patch did help me, but there was days where I would just sit and cry because I wanted a cigarette so bad. And I knew I couldn't go back there because if I pick up a cigarette, that's it. I don't have the strength or the will to quit again, so I can never touch it again. My addiction to food is different. I have to eat to live. So that's not something you could just give up cold turkey and never touch again.
How many meals are you consuming in one day, would you say?
Right now I'm eating like 3 meals a day, but I've been having chips. Things that I'm supposed to be on a more protein-based diet because protein makes you full right away and it satisfies you longer, and carbohydrates like chips and candy and all that. I could still eat those super easy and I could consume a lot and not feel full.
And how many times are you snacking per day, would you say?
It depends. Some days I'm really good and I'm sticking to the program. Other days, like something bad will happen or, I'm disappointed about something or I'm feeling stressed over finances or something, and I'll start going to chips and I'll start drinking alcohol too. I've turned to drinking too. Prior, I've been through some very traumatic events in my life, and the food wasn't enough to help me, so I turned to drinking, and I started drinking. So now with my surgery, the alcohol is consumed a lot faster, and then I lose my abandon and I start eating, I start snacking, and I don't even feel it.
I see.
Until the next day when I weigh myself on the scale, and then the whole vicious cycle of being like a failure rushes back to my attention again.
You've mentioned the word failure several times, and you feel like you're a failure because of you snacking and overeating and emotionally eating, whether you're happy or not. And you also mentioned that alcohol is now in the picture, and you drink as well as binging. Did I get that right?
Yes.
So how much alcohol would you say you consume in one day?
It depends. Some days I drink very little. Other days I could drink a lot.
Very little or a lot. Can you describe to me what very little or a lot
Very
means?
little could be as far as 1 or 2 glasses. A lot could be up to 10 glasses.
Okay, so there are days during the week where you're drinking 10 glasses.